Dead Island walked so that Dying Light could run.
Parkour!
Or at least, I don't know. That's how I remember it. You know, I feel like that's the general consensus here, right? The thing is, I haven't actually played the game since its original release way back in, holy 2011. Yeah, back on the PlayStation 3. You know, I played that shit through like the Redbox rental, which is crazy to think back on. Anyways, from what I remember from it, I liked the game enough, but it never really stuck with me like games like Dead Rising or State of Decay or even Dying Light afterwards. The only thing I can actually remember is like the Who Do You Voodoo theme song, and with the sequel finally coming out, you know, maybe, hopefully, I've decided I wanted to go back to the original games and see if I'm even interested. So I want to know, was Dead Island a good game? Well, let's find out. We're taken to a character selection screen, which is pretty much out of every early arcade game. You've got 4 choices, but honestly, after looking at the stats, you've got 2. Sam B, the melee expert and tank, or I'll probably say it wrong, Xian Mei, the bladed weapons expert and also like a glass cannon. Now, I chose Xian Mei for this playthrough. I was getting fucked up pretty easily, but I'm not about to restart. That being said, I think it's important to know each character's backstory. They aren't really explored in the game itself, and despite who you choose, they're all gonna be involved in the story all the same, but I don't know, I think it's always interesting to explore this stuff. So just so you understand who they are briefly, Logan is an old football player out of his prime. He was forcibly retired after getting injured in a drunken street race accident. He also killed some girl in the accident, but as fucked up as it is, he seems a lot more broken up about the injuries, so I'm sure there's more to that later. Sam B is your classic one-hit wonder, with Who Do You Voodoo being his only popular song. He's performing his only hit pretty much anywhere that'll pay him to do so, which is why he's here. Purna? Is it Perna or Purna? I'll say it wrong. Oh well, get over it. Purna was a vice detective, but she was also forcibly retired after she killed a corrupt politician. And lastly, Xian is the daughter of a murdered police chief. Her country sent her to the island to be an informant, disguised as a desk clerk. She despises it since she's treated differently from her male counterparts, but she'll basically just be the nice person in the group, you know. Each of the characters actually have some pretty cool concepts, and I'd like to see, you know, Logan's explored the most. Since I'm a sucker for redemption arcs, it sounds pretty cool. Purna also sounds pretty dope with how she killed that guy. But sadly, the game's just a lot more, I don't know, gameplay driven, you know. The survivors just barely ever get explored during the storyline. They're not really too relevant. It's basically like a live service game. Xian wakes up in her bed, still hungover from the night before, I assume. Now, I'm guessing she's already had some sort of conflict with the infected before this. You know, the cinematic showed her actually looking over a turning person in the bathroom. Also, her shirt's already torn up. And also, she's pretty calm about finding these dead bodies from the trailer. You know, we're also kind of looting all these suitcases sitting around. She's just, you know, kind of a psychopath. Regardless, we find our way to a balcony after extensively changing this game's sensitivity. It's super high, you'll have to mess with it if you play. And we get a good view of the island before a few bodies fling themselves off from the top floor. Obviously, Xian is surprised, so I guess she, maybe she hasn't ran into any infected, even though the cinematic kind of acted like they were already getting attacked. We rush into an elevator to get out of here, but it fails and flies downward. After the elevator crashes, we get our bearings and the camera speaks. Okay, yeah, so he basically just says, hey, I can see you from here, but we'll introduce ourselves later. Now you need to find a weapon, so go to the storage closet and grab the weapon. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah. Xian says back, prying the elevator doors open. On our way to the closet, however, we're introduced to the runners, which are, you know, they're the fast zombies. Look, you already know what they are, so we're forced to run in the opposite direction, which it's actually towards the closet. But as soon as we close the door, we are knocked out and presumably bitten by the zombie. However, we wake up to this guy who's standing over us with a bat, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna use this bat, you know, the one that's in my hands, and I'm gonna hit you in the head with it if you don't nod your head. So if you don't nod your head, they're like, no, hey, you know, I'm awake, but without actually saying anything, they just kind of nod their head, and he's like, oh, thank God, I'm not a murderer. Now, we're with all the other player characters, so we'll say immune from now on when referring to the player character. Spoilers, I guess. You should already know this, just that's the whole concept of the game. As we go out, we can see, you know, a bunch of survivors all cowering in fear and all this, and you hear a lot of rambling going on outside. It sounds like fighting. When we go to the front of the cabin, a couple are arguing, and the woman, Jean, turns to us, or maybe it's Jeannie, I don't know. And she's basically just like, hey, how come nobody's helping this guy? We're all stuck in here. He's the only one that's doing anything. Hey, you guys, he helped you, and it's kind of fucked up, you know, that you're not helping them back. Maybe you should go out there and help them. You know, you're the only ones that can. I think you're immune. And they're like, yeah, hey, I mean, I kind of just woke up. I'm not actually. She's like, oh, okay, good. So go out there. You'll need a weapon. And the other guy's like, yeah, hey, you'll need a weapon to go out there, man. What are you thinking? And it's like, I'm not, I don't know. So the group grabs a few things from around the cabin, and we head outside, getting introduced to the game's combat. Now look, I'm not gonna go too in depth with this, but it's basically just it's some really good melee combat. You know, it's got a heavy emphasis on weight, and you know the zombie ragdolls are really satisfying. It's just Dying Light. If you played it, you played this, but kind of less. It's got the stamina system, you know, level up system where you can get new abilities and more health and all that. Look, it's just a lesser version of Dying Light. You know, it's good, it's fun, and it's pretty simple. All right. We beat up a bunch of the infected, saving New Zealand's Stephen Bloom, and we go back into the cabin where Sinamoi, which is, you know, his character. So he picks up his radio after thanking us, and he's like, hey, are you there, radio guy? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. He's like, oh, well, goody. All right, so look, the guys that you had me go save at the hotel, you were right about them being immune, and they just saved all of us. So we're just going to kind of wait for search and rescue. And he's like, no, you can't wait for search and rescue, you idiot. You need me to get off this island. We're the only ones that can do anything. I have a helicopter here, but you need to get... And the radio goes silent. So, Sinamoi explains to us that there's a big monsoon coming and it must be causing interference on the radio. He wants us to go to the lifeguard station nearby and clear the infected out of it so the others can come over, as it's got the better radio. And, you know, it's a safer spot than a lone cabin. So, yeah, we pretty much are the only immune on the island, yada yada yada. Most of the game is going to consist of you basically just doing a lot of back and forth fetch quests for everybody. It's kind of annoying, but... We make our way through the island to Sinamoi's old cabin to get the key card for the station. I might as well talk about it now. So, the island, or at least the beachfront that this takes place on, is absolutely amazing. You know, it has some of the best visuals you'll play in a zombie game. The island's also filled with side quests and just depressing scenarios throughout your journey. You know, like this guy crying in a pool of blood, having just slaughtered his entire family after they turned. This girl who's obviously completely broken from everything going on and just like wants a teddy bear. This dying brother who just wanted to find his brother some insulin and ask you to take it to him. The devs do a good job of making the island feel alive, and it keeps it interesting throughout. You know, I don't know. I think it deserves praise. I'm sure Dying Light did it well too, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't played either in a long time, but it's nice to play an open world game that feels like an actual open world that's like realistic, you know? It adds a lot of life to it. It all definitely helps with the monotony of traveling so slow throughout the whole map. At least while playing solo. You know, they didn't have the parkour yet. So we go and clear out the old lifeguard station, helping the other survivors set it up and gather some basic supplies, you know, before getting back to Sinamoi. So, we get in our new truck and drive to some gas stations, barely surviving long enough to gather a few boxes of apple juice, which is somehow satisfactory. I'll also note that you'll come across a lot of interesting NPCs while out exploring. I kind of already said this before, but, you know, this is more or less just kind of, I don't know. I figured I'd add it. You know, you see this ex-pilot, and there's this couple you can save from a car wreck. They aren't as central to the narrative like NPCs are in Dying Light, so none of this really matters. You don't have to stop for anybody, and I won't draw attention to this kind of stuff after this, but I just want to note that they all feel pretty realistic, you know? It all seems pretty grounded and what you'd expect. It's not like goofy. My personal favorite NPC that you'll find throughout the game is Jeannie, the one that talked to us earlier, because of her quest and how realistic she's portrayed. She's not like overtly annoying. It's just sad, and though it has a very sad and grounded feeling of it so far. Anyhow, we get the supplies back to Sinamoi. He basically tells us, you know, hey, this is great, you know, apple juice lasts people usually a couple weeks at least, but hey, if we're gonna live longer, we'll need more stuff, you know, and there's nothing here at this island. It's obviously drained, you know, you've been taking the cans of dog food out of the cabins every day. Look, you'll have to get into the city to get us more stuff, but the only way to get there is through the tunnels, which are caved in, so you need to go get this vehicle that's in the hotel that we saved you from. It's like a 16-wheeler, it pulls a lot of shit, go grab that and get through the tunnel. And we're like, okay, yeah, well, yeah, I don't want to. Okay. So yeah, we head over to the hotel where we get what I count as the best mission in the game. It basically becomes like a horror section. You know, it has us go into this dark hotel in this garage. You have your flashlights, and if you put your headphones on, I don't recommend it. That's what I did. And you got like infected shouting all around you while you're just trying to sprint through it to find this stupid ass 16-wheeler. That being said, you know, after you get the truck, you go straight from the best mission to pretty much the worst. As Sinamoi sends us over to a mechanic shop where we essentially just sit outside and play a bit of a wave defense. We approach this mechanic after clearing all the infected out from him, and we find him and his young-ish daughter inside. They're all the same adult models. They didn't want to model any kids, but I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be like a teenager. And the mechanic basically says, you know, like, hey, wow, thanks for saving me and my daughter. You know, that was really close. And, oh, also, I'm bitten. So, boo. But I'm not actually a zombie. It's fine. And he basically just tells us that we have to take his daughter with us. You know, everybody's like, no, I don't want to I don't want that. I don't want to babysit. And he's like, well, you can take her anyway. And then he offers to patch up the vehicle for us. So we hold off the waves of zombies and all that. And he somehow puts a bunch of railing on it and is like, all right, well, see ya. Bye. And then it fades out of existence. But he also says, you know, he's like, hey, so take my daughter and all that, but also don't give her to that lifeguard. He can't keep her safe like you can. So Jin, the mechanic's daughter, says her goodbyes after he fixes the car, and we drive into the tunnels, heading straight for the city and pretty much losing everything I liked about the game. I'm gonna be honest, the beach was like the whole aesthetic. That's the whole drawing point, and I'm pretty sure this is what I remember, you know, going downhill and forgetting about the game. We'll see, you know, woe is me and all that. The game immediately cuts to the crew driving up on a ravaged city, you know, church bells drawing infected into this churchyard. It's all rather chaotic, yeah. Being immune and all that, you know, we do the obvious. We rush to the survivor's aid, taking care of the special infected. Also, we go inside and take care of this recently turned pastor who was blocking the path to the church bells, so we get to shut those down. Church itself is another hub, you know, it's just like the last few that were on the beach. It doesn't really add anything new, it just gives us a lot more to do fetch quest wise. Again, the quests are all good. I'm not going to go over them though because they're not that important like at all. We approach the group's leader, who's pretty much Mother Meredith. She's basically like, oh wow, thanks for saving us and all, you know, God be praised and all that. We're like, yeah, sure. She's like, oh, so you want food and medicine? Well, we don't actually have any of that. We have nothing. Okay, Sinamoi talked to us. So it's a situation. Yeah, that's sorry. Yeah, you know, that's sad, but we can't help you. But I do know where you can get some. And we're like, oh, cool. But she's like, but you have to help us if you want me to tell you. Wow, that's, you know, very holy. So Mother Helen sends us all to fix the water supply, where 2 of her people had already went missing a couple of days ago. Get inside, you know, clear the bandits and rescue her people. Go to the city, shut down some valves from leaking. We also hear about some police station full of creeps over the radio that basically took it over and are just causing problems and refusing to actually help people around the city. They're not pretty selfish. You have no reason to ever want to help them, ever. Not sure why I wanted to add that, but it's written, so I'm saying it. Afterwards, we return to the church and find Helen alone with the radio. She's like, oh, you know, hey, Lord be praised and all that. You guys, hey, thanks. 4 characters that I won't, you know, talk to. So your supplies are actually on the opposite side of the city where the wealthy resided. The only problem is that they actually blew up the city before we got here so that nobody could loot their side. But they have a plumber, Joseph, who could actually show us a way through the sewer to get there. As we leave, Sinamoi buzzes on the radio, and he basically tells us that they found this young girl. You know, oh, she's, you know, oh, wow, so sick, oh, really sick, but not like in a cool way, but in a, like, she's sick, like coughing and fever. Look, it doesn't matter. The people around her are getting angry. Everybody's hungry and stuff. They're getting paranoid about letting people in, and they want to get her out of there, but he won't let them. And he just says, hey, you know, hurry up. So yeah, I guess some decent time has passed during our trip. I don't know. I didn't expect it. Not sure how it took us like 2 weeks to get through this damn tunnel. So we follow Joseph through the city to the sewage entrance. So the immune make it to the side of the city that is full of wealthy people. We climb up and reach the city's mayor, who turns towards us. So the mayor is basically like, hey, fuck you guys, we're not giving you shit. And we're like, oh man, that, you know, come on. And he's like, no, we're not giving you anything, get out of here. And then Logan gets all pissy, he's like, fuck this. So the group all have a little powwow where they're basically like, look, everybody around here is selfish, nobody wants to help us, we shouldn't try to help them. They all have their differing agreements, with John being all like, no, hey, we agreed to help them, and Logan and then Sam and Pirna are all saying the same shit, which is basically, look, we can't help anybody if we keep having to give them supplies. It's just going to keep running out. The only way to help anybody is getting off this island. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So Logan calls Jen over the radio, but she won't do it. He tells her that they need to get the truck and get out of here and go to the guy on the radio, and she's like, no, we promise these people. Oh gosh, she's so annoying. She just says no, okay, we promise these people. She knows it's hard, but we gotta help them no matter what. And if we don't agree to help them, she's out of here with the truck. So, John takes the radio. She's like, all right, fine, you win. We'll go help them. We're not helping the people at the police station, though, because they're obviously assholes. And Jen's like, yeah, of course, no, yeah, sure. And then she drives off. So the survivors head back for the mayor, but his second in command, I guess. I literally just have written second. I don't know. I'm assuming it was the second in command. He tells them that he knows where we can get the supplies that we were wanting, which, hey, it's kind of convenient, but hell, I'm fine with it. The survivors, want to further the plot, so do I. No arguments here. I'm done with the fetch quest. So we go straight through some more sewage into an old market, taking out the new bandits that have recently taken over, and conveniently find every bit of supplies we needed. So we load them into a crate. Now, I'm not sure what logic follows to this next scene, but it goes straight from us literally closing the door to the crate to Logan and Sam unloading the crate on the opposite side of the bridge via rope. How they're able to do that, no idea. There was so many more supplies in there that definitely would not fit in this kind of crate. But again, 2011, I guess, which isn't that good of an excuse when you consider the games that came out then. But the infected show up and everybody splits up back the way they came. We have to go back through the sewage system to get to the church. On the way, we stop by the wealthy city, and I guess maybe they left the door unlocked. I don't know when we left, but the infected have taken over and everybody here is dead. So we get back to the church and Mother Helen stops us and she's basically just like, oh, you guys are all heroes, thank you and all that. Too bad people don't share our faith. And speaking of sharing, that Jen girl, she literally just went back to the police station and she hasn't came back. Joseph went with her and I'm worried. And it's like, well, fuck, of course she did. So the immune rushed back to the city, finding a much wider Joseph on the stairs. I don't know what happened, but they basically changed him into a Caucasian. He explains to the group that the police station was, oh no, who would have figured out? It was filled with bandits, and they beat him until he blacked out. But before he blacked out, he saw the bandits take Jen with them, wanting to quote unquote use her. I'm not gonna get into that, but he tells us how to get the drop on him, gives us a key to sneak in, and sadly, Joseph dies. It's pretty depressing stuff, I guess. Honestly, he wasn't involved enough for me to care. He just, I don't know. No, nobody really, you're not going to feel connected to anybody in this game. At least I did. We rush through the city and sneak into the police station, having a few shootouts before taking out the boss and finding Jen in the back room, beaten and sobbing. I'm not going to go into detail here, for obvious reasons, but the devs handled the situation well. The girls immediately pushed the guys out of the room to comfort her. Sam B is all angry at Jen for betraying them after they all agreed not to go here. Logan's trying to calm the dude down, saying that they're family and they need to stick together. It's a realistic situation. I'm glad they handled it this way. Again, I'm not gonna talk about this kind of stuff. But it is a very serious situation that's happened to her. It changes her character, I guess. I don't know. The group rides out of the city with Jen back to the lifeguard station. Along the way, we hear Cinnamon over the radio station. He basically tells the group, the girl ended up dying. Some of the others left to the hotel to use his radio, and they still heard no word from Radio Man. It's pretty convenient that the girl died before we got back, but hey, I guess it was just an interesting plot line to have going on to make us feel like something's urgent, I guess. We drop off the supplies and head directly to the hotel, and we just kind of find the others and get a hold of the radio station. There's no urgency, they're not in trouble. I don't really get why they said they were here for a couple days, but hey, urgency and all that. Basically, Logan's all like, hey, is anyone there? And then Perna shoves him aside. He's like, stop being dumb. Hey, is anyone there? And the radio guy's like, yes, I'm here. My name is Ryder White. I'm a colonel. I'm actually in the water, so the truck won't work. I'm at this prison that's secluded, and I'm here because I was saving my wife, Emily, who's now infected. And they're like, wow, a prison, that's kind of sketchy. Are you a convict? And he's like, no, of course not. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we'll believe you then. So he tells us that the truck won't work. We'll have to go inland to find this guy named Mowen, who can give us a boat and guide us to the prison, since there's mines in between us and the island and the prison in the water. Makes sense? Maybe. So we have to blow up some Japanese bunkers to get inland, and then he calls us again. And he's basically like, look, okay, so I told you about Mowen, but he's actually not going to just help you guys. You'll have to help him first, so he'll need to be escorted back to the labs in the jungle once you find him. The group's like, wait, why didn't you tell us this before? Are you hiding something? And he's like, yeah, I'm hiding something. Of course I am. I have a reason for helping you guys, obviously. My wife is infected, and the only way to cure her is with your blood since you're immune. You can get a cure from the scientists in the lab in the jungle with your blood. So get that, bring the cure to me, and we'll all get off the island with my helicopter. And then, you know, Logan hangs up the line because they're all pissy about it. Now, I mean, this is obviously supposed to be the middle point of the story. You know, all the characters deciding to be better people and all that. Helping the guy save his life, redeem themselves for other backstories, I guess. At least it could have been, you know, if the story was more character-driven or just better in general. But honestly, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't get this whole, like, dilemma. They don't have any choice besides doing what this guy wants us to do. He's kind of the only way we're off the island. The scene's kind of useless right now, and also the characters just, there's not much to them, so I don't know what type of drama there could possibly be in this situation. You know, they're all like, but I don't want to do it. Oh no, this guy betrayed us. And then John's like, well, maybe we should. So the group gets back together. Okay, look, so the game has a lot of back and forth. You know, the quest, the storyline, it's all a lot of padding, I feel like. I'm gonna go ahead and just do everybody a favor. I'm gonna skip ahead and not go into detail about a lot of stuff that happens in between now and more, you know, when the plot picks back up. So basically, we got help from some villagers after helping them with some stolen weapons and all this stuff and like village clashing. We find this Moen guy, but he tells us that he didn't know anything about the prison, which is, you know, of course, but he can tell us where the lab is, which is apparently where the virus originated. So we go to the lab, but it's completely overrun. Luckily, we clear it out, and past the entrance, we find the other scientists all still at work in the lab, apparently just holding off this spot, I guess. So we approach the leader, who's Dr. West. So the doctor, you know, the doctor looks at us, he's like, hey, you know, I know what you're thinking, all this, blah, blah, blah. He basically explains to us that he and his other people were actually just a cosmetics lab in the jungle. Yeah, what a bad excuse. A cosmetics, yeah, sure, whatever. A cosmetics lab in the jungle making a cure. So yeah, they focus on making a cure now, and they're testing the local natives' blood and all this. They don't like the doctors, so they'll need our help, but they also know about our immunity. So they get a sample from all of us, you know, yeah, that fucking hurts. And then as he tests our blood samples, he has us do some random side quests. And then whenever we come back to him, he actually explains that the virus started here from one of the natives. All these natives practice cannibalism, but their kin weren't infected with the same virus. So he needs a blood sample from their leader, Ope, I believe that's his name, to see what the connection is between us and them. And he basically, he tells us that our blood was O negative, which there's some more science mumbo jumbo, but that's basically the extent of why we're immune. So we basically just drive to the locals. We do a bit of a battle arena thing to prove ourselves against all this infected. Ope talks over this radio the whole time. It's kind of cool. He gives us his blood sample afterwards, and we head straight back. West tells us that the virus is mutating, and he can make a cure, but he needs a pure blood sample to get a more stable version of the virus to work with, I guess. It's all a bunch of science mumbo jumbo. Apparently, we can only get this stable version from a native that hasn't been practicing the cannibalism, which isn't possible because all of them have been. But when we get back to Ope, we learn that while nobody hasn't been reborn through this ritual, he can take us to where they've buried their dead, where they basically entomb all their dead warriors as mummies. All a bunch of, basically we can get a sample from a mummy. So when we get there, this scene happens.
You see any mummies?
No!
What the hell?
Very bad spirits. Stay away.
Stop it!
Right, so look, this scene obviously has an It hasn't aged well. It doesn't make any sense right now. It does later on, I promise. Like, after the ending credits, there's a lot of moments like this. The writing kind of nosedives, but it's not supposed to. I guess the writers were like, oh, they'll understand whenever they replay the game. Problem is, it doesn't help in these situations where you're just like, what the hell is going on? Why is everybody just being stupid? So, just understand that it does get resolved later, but for now you're gonna be kind of confused by a lot of things that'll happen throughout the plot now. We grab this girl, Yurima is her name, and we take her back with us to the lab after we grab a blood sample from one of the mummies in the tombs, basically. Back at the lab, you know, Wes is like, hey, yeah, with this sample I can make a cure. It'll take some time, but for now it's best that I keep the girl here and test her too. Yeah, sure, it makes sense. But Ryder is all mad on the radio, and he's like, look, Moen's lying about not knowing about the prison, just ask him, okay? He's being dumb. So when we go back to him, we're like, hey, Moen, were you lying about the prison? Ryder says that you know about it, and he's like, yeah, I was lying, sorry about that, but I trust you guys now, so I'll take you. But before we go, we'll have to go to the slums to get some fuel and a gift for a prisoner named Titus. Apparently the prison's being overrun by the prisoners, and Titus is the big boss over there. Okay, so yeah, we decide to take a bit of a detour back to the slums, getting what we need. It takes like 10 minutes, literally. There's almost like, it's like the game was just trying to look for something that had the time to have something important happen. When we get back to the boat, Moen says that we'll also need to armor it up, just in case we hit a mine. Thought that's what he was for, but hey. And then Jin steps up, she's like, hey, you know, my dad was a mechanic, and he's the only mechanic in this game, so he actually worked on boats too, so we can get there, and it's like, oh, yeah. So, we travel back to the mechanic, where we fend off some infected as Jin walks inside the shop, reopening the door.
I love you, Dad.
So Ryder calls back to us on the radio. He's like, look, there's a lot of noise or screams. Oh, I'm so scared. Go back to the lab. You better hurry. So we go back to the lab and find it just full of infected. All the scientists are dead and Yurima's trapped in this cage. We kill the zombies and we free her, and she's basically like, look, oh man, you know, you guys are my heroes. These people treated me like a dog. They kept taking my blood. I went to school, so I know we only have so much blood, so I locked myself in this cage. And oh man, he was really racist to me. Basically all this out of left field. So she also explains that whenever he went to unlock the cage, he accidentally opened up all the zombies they had in the facility that they were testing, and it killed everybody here. Anyways, Ryder gets back on the radio and he's like, oh man, he was really close to the cure. Actually, it's probably there. Just look around and you'll find it. And we're like, obviously, we're not going to just find the cure. Nope, it's in the fridge that we could open up earlier, but nothing in it. And it's the one thing in there. Oh my god, this game. So yeah, Ryder's basically like, look, great. Go get Moen and get to this prison and we can get out of here and save my wife. Just don't trust the prisoners. You know, they're all terrorists. Find me at cell block C and we'll leave. And then his radio shuts off again for the interference. Alright, to the end game, with the prison being our final map. The group takes Yurima, Jin, and Moen, and we navigate through the mines pretty easily. There's not much to it, it's just a little cutscene. And we reach the prison. Once on board, Moen, our guide takes us straight to Titus, who's basically the big alpha dog here. So we go straight to Titus, who's basically the big bad. He's like, oh, you know, stereotypically, who do you think you are coming into my prison? And Moen's like, hey, take these cigars, shut the hell up. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll trust you, but I'm gonna have you do a bunch of side quests that are meaningless just to pad out the game time if you don't mind. The game, it's getting pretty old with this mission design. I'm gonna be real, I'm getting tired of it. I don't know, maybe it's on me, but the gameplay is just, it's getting repetitive. It's lasting too long at this point. There's nothing new being added. The level ups just aren't doing it for me, and this writing is kind of just me off. It gets better after the DLC, but for now, I just don't understand a damn thing. So I'm not gonna go through all this, but it's just more fetch quests. So, we do a few quests for Titus here. One where we rescue another inmate from a zombie-infested cell block. One has us secure some food from the infested cafe for them. And one has us working with this other inmate, Kevin, he's very important, to get into a weapons lockup. Kevin helps us get to the weapons, but as we get ready to take them back, Ryder finally gets back a hold of us through the radio. So, Ryder gets on the radio and he's like, look, I shouldn't have to explain this, but you shouldn't give these terrorists guns for obvious reasons, and you also can't just let them off of this prison. So look, I handled everything. Just come to the elevator. Your friends are going to be there, and I'll meet you at Cell Block C. Just come on. Let's get this game over with. So we find Yurima and Jin waiting at the elevator, and they're basically like, oh man, so look, Moen died. You know, zombies showed up after the prisoners started rioting. Moen saved us and got us into a vent so we could get out. Oh, it's so sad. Nobody cares. Moen was not even a character, really. So yeah. The immune take them and we all get in the elevator, but it's gassed. We all wake up to Kevin waking everybody up. And he's like, oh man, are you guys okay? Ryder came in and stole something off you. And we're like, ah, fuck. He got the cure probably, right? He's like, yeah, I don't know what a cure. What? Cure? Huh? Anyway, Ryder went to medbay to pick up his wife. There's a zombie. That's going to take him some time. So if we hurry through the other side of the building, which is filled with infected, that's quicker to the roof, we can get there before he gets out of here. And we're like, all right, let's do it. Okay, so, yeah, again, I really did not understand why Ryder would just betray everybody. It's explained later, but, oh my god, why wasn't it just explained earlier? It's just, man, this writing has really just pissed me off after we left the beach. Without knowing the concept or the context from the DLC, this made no sense. Like, Ryder would just be like, oh, actually, I'm bad. Look, it's explained later. Just for now, it doesn't make too much sense, and you're gonna be like, why did he do that? And we're not gonna ask him either. So it's just kind of something that we have to roll with until we play the DLC afterwards. So we head through what I can only describe as a lesser version of the sewer run mission from, you know, Dying Light. You know the one. It was a cool one, you know, where you're jumping over into the ladder. Basically, we rush through all these hordes of various infected until we reach the roof, where Ryder shoots at us. After a brief little shootout, you know, bang bang, pew pew, all that, the immune are able to reach him, and basically he holds us all up at gunpoint while his wife is strapped to a table while being loaded onto the helicopter. So Logan's like, hey man, your zombie wife is kind of a bitch. Why are you attacking us? This makes no sense. And Ryder's like, hey, you know, no, she's not infected. And Ryder's like, no, it's just, you know, she's just turning. I have this cure. We're gonna go get some scientists. We'll make the cure. Then I'll be back. I promise. And we're like, no, Kevin told us about the nukes. You're gonna kill everybody. And he's all mad. He's like, oh, I should kill you most of all. And he points at him. He's like, look, Manoi is a lost cause. We can't save these people. The only way to save the world is if we stop the virus from spreading. You're not going to save this island. It's too late. But we have to have a character moment here. So Jin walks up and she's all like, look, I killed my dad. It's easy to kill people you don't care about, isn't it? But what about the ones you love? And she frees his wife somehow. And he kind of just punches his wife to death after she bites him. And he gets mad, so he obviously shoots her. And then he injects the cure into himself. Now, I know it's supposed to be sad. I'm going to be honest. None of the I don't care. I don't care about any of the characters in this game. They're all pretty much the same, you know? They're all just faceless NPCs to play as, to have fun fighting zombies. There's not much story. There's not much character development going on here. So they're all sad, and then Jin falls to her death, yada yada, sad music, sad music. Ryder injects himself with the cure, but it's surprise, I guess. It's not a cure, it's actually a mutation, and he becomes just the worst boss battle in the game. Essentially, you just kind of run around a circle on the helipad while shooting this bigger, just running zombie. Ryder just turns into a runner. He has a lot of health, I guess, but you know, it is pretty lame. But yeah, so you beat him. So everybody's sad about the death, and Charon basically is like, hey, someone's gonna nuke it if it's not him, so let's go on this helicopter and go. He knows how to pilot a helicopter, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, radios play as we go, and I'll just narrate that because I already did it for some reason. Oh, well, the public fears this rumored plague. Humanitarian efforts are starting and Benoi will soon be back to normal. Ah yes, Benoi, the beautiful vacation island with the fabled prison, housing the world's most dangerous criminals, like Charon, the world's greatest hacker man. Charon has worked with many terrorist organizations. Yes, he will remain locked away with all the others forever, as he is very dangerous and can never escape on a helicopter. So after beating the game, they added this campaign called the Ryder White campaign. It basically lets you choose Ryder White whenever you're on the character selector and play the game from his perspective. It's pretty short. I'm not about to fully cover it. I just don't care at this point. I've had enough of this game for now. But to help understand the rest of the game's plot, I'll go over all the moments that are pretty much the reason why I didn't like the game, because they weren't explained until this damn DLC. Right, so Kevin is Charon. Or Charon, I don't know. I'm gonna say Charon for now. So basically, the whole time that the group thought that they were talking with I almost said Alex Ryder. Yikes, that game was rough too. The whole time that you think that you're talking to Ryder through the radio, all that time you were actually talking to Kevin, whose real name is dun dun dun. It's Charon. You know, it was made pretty obvious during the ending credits. Also, the 4 immune being at the same hotel, not a coincidence. So basically, the 4 survivors that we play as were found by this mysterious organization that actually hired Charon during a blood drive, and they indirectly had the 4 basically be at the island before releasing this outbreak to test it. And the reason they did that was to basically test their theory of people with O negative blood, I guess, being immune. So there's that. Also, okay, the biggest part, the scientists were not dumb, and also that weird cutscene with Ope. So during the DLC, it's revealed that Yurima isn't just a survivor. She's actually the source of the virus on the island, and basically is just like a ticking time bomb, which is why Ope became so frightened when he saw her and tried to kill her. Maybe, I guess that's what I got from it. And basically, it shows that the scientists were never actually making a cure. They were working for the Charon to weaponize the virus, but after they made the virus disguised as the cure, Dr. West realized that he could make a genuine cure with Yurima's blood, which is why he was taking so much from her. Charon didn't want a cure to be made, however, for some damn reason, so he released all the zombies from where he was, since, you know, he's a hacker man. Like, he can do it pretty much everything from where he's at, I guess. And he killed them all. Now, I'm not really sure why he wouldn't want a cure. I feel like even if you are like this big bad that wants the virus, having a cure made, like, which could definitely be the only cure made, I feel like would be a good thing as a failsafe at least, or maybe you can weaponize that too. But hey, what the f do I know? You know, whatever. The DLC also shows Wes being pretty nice to Yurima. He never calls her a savage or whatever she said he did. I'm not sure if she was lying about him and she knows that she's actually important, or maybe he was just being a dick off screen. I don't know, you know. It's whatever. Right. So, the real Ryder White crashed on the island while coming back to do a mission. I think to blow up the island. I'm not sure, to stop the virus. Or no, I think he was going to find his wife before the island got nuked. I don't remember. But he's contacted by Charon, who basically leads him on throughout the DLC by saying that he can save his wife. So eventually, once Ryder gets the cure from the survivors, whenever Charon has him gas them out and grab it, he turns on Charon to go and save his wife and leave. But Charon reveals that the cure only works in the first stage, and it's too late for her, which I guess explains why he injected it as soon as he got bitten. I don't know. Basically, he didn't know that his wife was like fully infected. He thought that he could save her. She was just like bitten recently, but then he learned that Charon was lying and that she's actually a full-on zombie, which is why he grabs her and basically goes to leave with her on the helicopter so they can use the cure they have to go make an actual cure. All that was explained earlier. So yeah, the DLC basically acts as like a plot hole cleaner. You know, it makes the whole story well-rounded and work. It adds everything together. Problem with it? Why? Like, why was this the way to enjoy this game's writing? Why did I have to do the homework and play the DLC? But during the actual game, I found myself just like laughing at the absurdity of the writing for the characters after the beach. I didn't know about all these twists, so I don't know, it made me leave the game feeling just gross. Like, it started off so good and got bad, and it was never actually bad. They just tried to pull this like big twist at the end. And yeah, sure, it's cool, but like, you could have at least showed all these twists at least during the ending, like during the credits, like with a flashback like you do in the DLC. There was no point to make this a DLC that you had to pay for afterwards. But yeah, whatever, I guess. I'm not the developer. So the combat's still really nice, it holds up. The melee combat, that is. The guns kind of feel like shit to use. They honestly ruin most of the gameplay once they are introduced, same with like bandits. Human enemies never worked in Techland games, Dying Light did the same shit and it ruined it. I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I would much rather the game just stick to normal zombies and let me bash them with the mechanics. The map designs were pretty decent, though I'd say that the best part of the game was definitely the first 3 chapters where you're on the beach. I don't know. I just felt like the beach was the whole like advertising place for this game. It would have been much better to just stick to it. I wish they just stayed there for most of the game. I don't know. For the characters, I'd say they're all pretty interesting. They've got nice backstories. Like, it could be definitely fleshed out if this was ever like written by someone that cares about storytelling. But they weren't fleshed out at all. They're really poorly executed. Again, it's like you were playing like a live service. They don't do much for me. But yeah, on paper, yeah, they're all pretty good. They're all grounded and realistic and make sense and like dark. I could definitely see liking them as protagonists if they were written better. It's not like this goofy ass Marvel-esque writing of like, haha, let's beat up zombies, nobody cares about anything, everything's a joke kind of writing. It was pretty dark and gritty, even though it wasn't really executed that way. Now, while I had my problems during the game with how the writing seemed to pretty much implode on itself, after seeing the actual plot be revealed from the DLC, yeah, I liked it. It's pretty decent. However, it was really poorly done in my opinion. It should have just been resolved during the base storyline or just rewritten in general to where we don't have to deal with everybody just being dumb all of a sudden. I would have just preferred it stay grounded. Even with all this twist, this could have been explained better, or just have the main character question anything. I don't know. If you like zombie games, yeah, you'll probably like this game. It's got a really fun co-op mode. It's kind of buggy, but it's goofy. It doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest. Melee combat holds up to this day. I would not recommend playing this game if you already have something like Dying Light. While Dying Light's plot was a lot weaker, it was a much better execution, and it was comprehensible all the way through. There was no like homework to do. If I had to describe Dead Island with one sentence, I would say it's a great proof of concept, but a really bad execution. Now, look, I had Riptide coming up. I didn't realize how long it would take to make these videos. It took me like 3 months to make this. I'm just gonna record this quickly. I'm not gonna make one over Riptide. I didn't like it too much. Basically, I thought Riptide was better. Gameplay-wise, it was way better. Character-wise, way better. I actually like the, what's her name? I can't remember her name. But she was basically another hidden immune, but she basically becomes the last boss battle because she tries to keep you all from escaping. It's really good. I liked her way more. I liked the main characters way more in the game. They improved it a lot, and it still had the seriousness, and it had a cool mutation feature. And John as the new main character was cool too. I would say Riptide was definitely a step up from the first game in every way. Had the cool horde mode and stuff. So I'd say Riptide is like a 6 out of 10 for me, whereas the first game was more like a 5 out of 10. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It was just kind of better, but still not good. So, was Dead Island a good game? No, not really. Get his ass, Sam.
Get over it, pussy. Oh!
You need help?
No, I got it.
Yeah, I healed you. Get in there.
Hold on. Okay, I want one
Get
more
in
shot.
there. Kick his ass, Sam.
I'll get him. Hold on.
You got him, Sam. Get his ass.
One more shot.
Hold on, Sam. I got you. Get his ass.
One more shot.
Kick his ass, Sam. This piece
Hey,
of shit.
Look at me, bitch. Yeah.
What a bitch.
Shrunken head, broken legs, body parts on the concrete. Cut 'em up, butcher style gators in the swamp. Red light, leave 'em dead, running like a track meet. Scared of nobody, what your motherfuckers want. Believe me when I tell 'em I'm a boogeyman beast. Leave 'em slashed from their head to their feet. Pin bricks to the chest of a bitch, well fed, cooking meat, cannibal trying to eat. I got a zombie army, and you can't harm me. Yeah, hoodoo, bitch. Drink blood like a vampire without warning. Hoodoo, bitch. Stand up. Sam B got the thing that go bump in the night. Whoa, hoodoo, bitch. Hide your kids, grab your wife, better get out of sight. Hoodoo, bitch. Let's go. Sam B the papa Papa Shango, I'm Baron Samedi. Handful of fingertips, toss them up like
Yo,
confetti.
thanks for watching the video all the way, obviously. If you liked it, it'd be cool if you could leave a like and then subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this in the future. Alright, bye-bye now.
Your ass real crack bones to the marrow, hot sauce and they suck it. Now my juju ain't nothing to fuck with. I got a zombie army and you can't harm me. Yeah, who do you want?